All right, folks. They say it's 5 o'clock somewhere, 2 o'clock for me. Fingers crossed, we're going to have a very successful show today. Hello and welcome, everybody. My name is Rob Appell. I'm a quilt maker from the Stitchin Heaven quilt shop out in Quitman, Texas, although I'm at my home studio here. Although in just a few days I will be out there, and if you've noticed some of our folks that are already signed in and commenting and having fun amongst themselves, folks, I'm sorry I missed you all last week. Technology problems, but you can see we're all getting very excited for packing up. We're heading out to Quitman, Texas to have our big retreat next week. And I am, folks, I'm getting a good head start. I have to be at least 2 days ahead of schedule for my my workshop that starts next week. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'm a little nervous right now. It's kind of weird. I'm basically going to do a recap live of what happened last week because I was so excited about all the things I wanted to share. But normally I put the show together for a few hours before I go live. And so I kind of feel like I'm doing old info. It's kind of weird, but I'm really excited about what's going on out there. I will be doing better to watch the comments. If stalled out, it was weird last week. I could see you all commenting, but you all know I don't read very fast or very well for that matter. That's why I'm so good at coloring. And at any rate, so the comments were going by and I could see everything working over here on my iPad, which controls everything. And no, folks, I am by myself. It was really fun. I went and read some of the comments later on. And some of you were saying, he must have been dying, or the behind the scenes must have been dying to try to fix everything. No, I just literally went for, I think, 28 minutes last Friday, all by myself. So anyways, welcome back. You're amongst the 59,000 subscribers. I was asking you last week, we're so close, folks. Help me get to 60,000. It would be super fun. Let's make that happen while we're all together at retreat next week. So let everybody know this is the place to be. Super cool. We got a bunch of super great stuff coming up over the next year or so. So at any rate, yeah, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Smash the like button. Make sure you share. Make sure you comment. All those kinds of things. It helps our YouTube community grow. Speaking of communities growing, I'm once again out of date, folks. We are almost to 2,000 members in our private group, So Well, Rob Appell on Facebook. And I'd just love to have you all join in and, come on over. You do have to answer just a few questions to get through the gatekeeper, which is myself. But it's been great. We're seeing somewhere between 40 and 60 folks a day joining right now. So I'm really excited to know that the community is growing. I do often see comments about you lost me after my time at Man Sewing, and I actually went off and practiced the other side of the industry. I was a sales manager. I was doing another little YouTube channel for a while and stuff, but I'm really glad to be back here on this creative side. We've got a great show planned for today. I want to now, funny enough, we're going to talk about Delta, which is the tutorial that I posted this week, but I've also wrapped up the parts and pieces now. I can show you what we'll be actually all learning together in a few weeks, which is what we do with our leftovers from the way I did Delta. And once we get into our grateful list today, folks, you are going to see we have been doing an absolute so much sewing. That's what I'm going to say. So much sewing. So at any rate, okay, so as we're diving through, oh, that's right. If you're new here, again, welcome. Please feel free to comment. Let us know where you're moved from. Let us know, yes, Nancy, new tattoos. We're going to talk about that today. Good eye, girl. Absolutely welcome, welcome, welcome. Let us know where you live. Let us know what the weather's like. Let us know what you're working on. You can see we have a very active and very loving community out there. I do go pretty fast and I jump all around. Believe it or not, I might be ADHD. My punchline is I've never sat still long enough to take the test, or finish the test, that is. But anyway, so there's links in the description. I do my best to put the links in the description. And like I said, I think everything's still current this week, with the exception of the Delta video. But it's just right here on YouTube where you're watching today's video. Now, next week, while we're out in Texas, we have a bunch of fun things we're doing and talking about a community building and expanding. We're going to also try to do a simulcast next week on Facebook and YouTube Live on Friday during the retreat. So it should be absolute chaos, but we'll dress accordingly and it will be super fun. And again, just something to look forward to for all of you out there. Super great. Now, a couple of the events coming up. Let's get into our announcements for the day, if we may. Don't forget about that long arm training event content, you know I'm all about machine quilting, whether it's seated, long arm, oh wait, I almost said by hand, but no, that would not be machine quilting. Anyways, check it out. Handy Quilter presents right there at Stitchin Heaven, October 16 through 18, 2024. We have 3 full days of classes coming up, and they're going to be incredible, folks. We've got great instructors coming out, and it's going to be a super, super fun event. And again, this is one of those kinds of events where you do not need to own the equipment. This is a great place where you could come and try it if you're considering purchasing a long arm or a mid arm. I mean, this is even a handy quilter, folks. This is a standard straight stitch machine, and there's a lot of different ways to run threads through. I almost said skin that cap, but that wouldn't make any sense because we're talking about building things instead of skinning things. So at any rate, there's a lot of different ways to complete our quilted projects. And so yes, I do have a mid arm machine. When I say mid arm, it's only 18 inches. I believe a true long arm starts at 24. But again, I am no expert on the equipment. I just have a great time using the machine. So at any rate, if you have any interest, if you're considering making a purchase in the near future, if you're interested in the software or any of those kinds of things, like I said, please join us for that long arm training event, October 16 through 18 this year. It's going to be super cool. Now, a few weeks ago, I was traveling. Nancy saw I've got a few new tattoos, so we're going to talk about that. But I put up a really fun story of friends. Make sure you watch this video, folks. It's a really great kind of recap of the 2 major events that my former friend, as I refer to him, but he's just a dear friend, of course, combat quilter Andrew Lee, and then of course, Quilting Marine Mark Darrell, and myself. We came together to do a Veterans Day sew-along in Quitman, Texas at Stitchin Heaven, and we've really become just the tightest brothers, and it's so important to me, and I'm going to speak for both of these gentlemen. Anyways, I'm going to speak for both of these guys. I know how important our relationship is. It's really reminded me actually how important the entire community of quilt makers are. If you don't know who Mark or Andrew are, check out Combat Quilter and Quilting Marine right here on YouTube, and they're just fantastic. But at any rate, so we were also on a cruise together. You see some of the folks today that are commenting along were on that cruise with us. We're going to join together for another retreat next week, again in Texas. And so I just wanted to share with some of you, and it was right after the 4th of July when somebody said, man, I saw this really fun patriotic series of videos Rob put out, and I wish I would have seen them sooner. So you can never get a good old USA videos out there, and quilters doing good things with good quilts. So anyways, check out those videos. That was a couple weeks back. Arabella Block of the Month series. We are on block number 6. Pretty cool, folks. And now I think it is safe to make the announcement. And please don't hate me if I'm out of line. But, okay, so I was working like, I'm sorry, I am jumping around. I know that. And I haven't even had the afternoon coffee. I spent a lot of time the first few days of this week preparing and shooting the last several videos, blocks 7, 8, and 9, the coming up videos for Arabella. And what's really cool about Arabella, it's one of the first block of the months I've seen where we actually build the center on month 4 so that it's easy to kind of play with, put on the design wall. And I've seen a lot of folks in the Arabella Facebook group putting their blocks together and playing. So at the end of month 4, we had gotten this far. Then we did month 5 and month 6, as I just had shown you. Now, what's really cool, folks, with that, here's what the full quilt looks like. Let me give you an overhead, so I'll just stop moving around so much. There you go. That's the full quilt, and it's beautiful, and it uses the Timeless Treasures batiks that are the Arabella batiks, and designed by Wing and a Prayer Designs. Now, the super cool thing about this is I have been telling you all, super sorry it's all sold out. And you know, if you hadn't already participated, you were kind of, I can say SOL here on YouTube. And so you were watching the videos but felt like, boy, I sure wish I could have. And so now, yes, you can. I just saw when I was looking up the information for this quilt behind me, or which we will be talking about real soon, I just saw that on stitchinheaven.com under the block of the month, but go to page number 2. I believe I actually have a photo of this. Like I said, I'm a bit disorganized. Yeah, here it is. Down on the corner, page number 2 is Arabella, starting again in January, and it's the pre-cut version. Folks, this is incredible. We had so many folks so excited and participating in the first go-around. We've decided to offer it again, and because the videos are free on YouTube, they will be free again. So we get a lot of comments asking, what projects will I be teaching on YouTube? So starting in January next year, if you didn't start with us this year, you can start again with us. And I've been having a lot of fun. So yeah, we filmed out some of the blocks. We did some really neat piano keys. And one of the things I like a lot about the piano keys coming up is they go in opposite directions. I think I still have some of my notes with me here from the filming. But at any rate, so yeah, they go in opposite directions, and then they'll be perimetered in between the piano keys. We're going to have these really cool flying geese. And so at any rate, again, working on my precision a little bit with this, this workshop, with this block of the month. There's a lot of really cool instructions for accuracy. And yes, Andrew, I've been doing my best with them, having a good time that way, a little bit of Team Tiffany Hayes there. So yeah, really, really cool. And like I said, make sure you sign up for Arabella starting in January. And the only reason I have 2 reasons I will forgive you for not signing up. The first one is if you've already signed up and you're already doing it this year with me. That would make total sense. You wouldn't do it twice. But secondly is this right here. This is also starting in January. It is called Epic. It is a block of the month by Charisma Horton, but it features my fabrics, the new and the newer worlds by Benartex. So that's something that's super cool coming up, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this here down the road in the video today. But I also want to point out the quilt project that was just tutorial a couple days ago, like we always do on Wednesdays, was the Make the Delta quilt. And so this is pretty fun, folks. I'm going to put this up and leave it up here for you for a second. You know, I love to read all those comments, and of course I love the compliments about the upbeat personality and how I don't always have to use specific fabrics in my patterns, because that is something I really intentionally do for you all here. Can't wait to see what I do with the leftovers. Well, you will today. However, how many stitches did you have to rip out when you realized the 2 triangles were wrong? Oh man, and there were so many comments that went that way. And there were so many folks that were interested, I figured I could hide no longer. Yeah, folks, the video itself turned out great, but that shoot, sometimes they just don't go well. We found out that we had a problem with one of the microphones, so the good mic didn't record. The backup mic died in the middle of the shoot, so we could only use it for half of it. Once we figured all of that out and we're finally able to sync up everything after the entire, 40 minutes worth it takes us to shoot a tutorial, I realized that yes, 2 of these triangles had been put in upside down, and you could completely see it. I didn't notice myself until Elijah, my partner there in crime, and I were looking at the photos, and I'm smiling. You know, I'm holding up the quilt, and I just thought, all right, I'm taking a long lunch today. It was rough. It was a rough day, folks. So yes, but the nice thing about quilting is no quilts were harmed in the filming of that video either. I don't even believe I said any curse words that day. It had already gone so bad. I think I just gave up and came back to it when I got home. But nonetheless, so yeah, the Delta quilt uses my really cool, let me see if I've got a little better shot on. Oh, I've already got you on this tight shot here. Yeah, this Delta quilt uses my new and newer worlds. And the fun thing about the pattern really was that the pattern, as you can see, uses ombre fabrics. And the ombre fabrics Tiffany Hayes was working with were from Moda, and so it's written so that whenever you make the triangles, so that you get that kind of neat dimensional effect, that the triangles are cut so that you always have the brightest section at the top of each triangle when you use them. And I'm using 2 different colors per row. If you don't understand that, please watch the video. However, when you do this like I did, and I made strip sets, I was left over then with what became the extra. And here's, let's just be good teachers and see if I can find that same green row that I was just showing in there. It's a big quilt. This thing got out of control. But here we go. So now you can see here that same information, but now my triangle tips ended up with the dark colors in the end. Okay, so that was really cool, I thought at first, and I started laying it out on the design wall, and I wanted to make this really fun one that would then have kind of a zigzaggy effect with the background fabrics. And as I did that, I realized I got a quilt that was about 100 inches long by 40 inches wide, barely. And so I didn't love that, so then I put in my new stripe borders. Those are also part of the New Worlds collection. And then I had a few pieces that I omitted. Let me see if I can just show you all this. And again, I have a tutorial where I'll teach you all of the process on this coming up. But you can see here, I used some of the leftovers in the borders. And then I got so crazy at the end, I used more of them, and yes, folks, there were even places I busted out Jack, not Daniels, but the Ripper, and I was unstitching parts to sew them back together like a madman, like all of us quilters do, but like in the finest of pieces. And I'm thinking, I don't know what's going on here. But so nonetheless, it's a really radical looking quilt, and I'm super excited about it. Really fun, it would be great, like maybe at this size for, I don't know, like a 6 or 7 year old's bedroom or something. I just think it's really fun. And I do like the way that the zigzags come together. And now it's so big, and I'm getting so many quilts in my life, folks. I think I'm gonna try this. I think I'm gonna take Delta. And even though Tiffany does finish it, right? She finishes it by using the zigzaggy edges. So she finishes it without much problems along this edge here, right? So this is how the project finishes out. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the complementary dark fabric, that stripe, add that in there, right? And then with that, I'm going to build up this size quilt to match that size quilt over there. And when that's all set, then I will be able to do one of those two-sided quilts, basically, so reversible, and it'll be kind of like dark toned on one side and light toned on the other. I think it'll be pretty cool looking, and that way I can then store 2 quilts in one roll, if you know what I'm saying. So anyways, pretty excited about that as I go through, and that's a lot of my show and tell. I feel like I kind of dominated today, but last week I didn't have show and tell, but thanks to Patty. Thank you, Patty. We've got 2 wonderful quilts to look at. So this one here is an Elizabeth Hartman design, and I just love the little otter right there in the center, of course, and the walrus. But being a sea life guy, that otter, they just don't otter get much better than that, right? And then this one here, if I remember the email correctly, and maybe it was about both of them, that she was excited that had learned to enlarge the patterns and make it their own, following instructions, but making them fit the sizes needed. So that's pretty great. And again, Patty, thanks for sending that in. If any of you would like to have your quilts seen here on the show, just go ahead and email them right to rob@stitchinheaven.com. And I will generally make some sort of comment on that. Just include your first name so I don't embarrass you too much, unless, well, maybe I will anyways, at any rate. So it's a lot of fun to do that. And I think we're about ready to dive into the Grateful List. And the Grateful List is going to kind of be the recap today for the rest of the show, rest of the announcements and everything coming down the pipeline. We will talk about the tattoos here in a second. Nancy, I know you're on the edge of your chair there. I think you recognize our character. And but if you're new to the program, the Grateful List is all about reminding ourselves it's that, oh, that's right, there's usually a logo right here that says so well. It's that wellness portion, right? Like, we got to take care of ourselves, folks. We got to be responsible. And I think that's why so many of us spend the time we do in our sewing rooms. And I hope you're also eating well and drinking a lot of water and getting some exercise and just walking around the block a few times counts, folks, because sometimes sewing can be a bit sedentary, right? But nonetheless, we've got to make sure we're on top of our mental health. And a lot of times doing stuff with our hands really improves the quality of our mental health. So anyways, it's something I'm excited about, and I like to bring it all together with what we call the Grateful List, inspired by good old Dave Letterman himself. So here we go. The top 4 reasons that I'm grateful this week. Again, new friends. And I know what you think I'm thinking, and we've mentioned new friends before, and I always use this, it seems like. But new friends is, of course, the fact, one, if you've been following the show for a while, my 14-year-old dog and like 15-year-old cat have decided to become friends. But they only like each other if they're sleeping on my head. So this was a few mornings ago. I grabbed my cell phone. Charlie's pretty much a skitty. So he doesn't like much movement, and that was the best photo I could get. But yes, they're getting along. But folks, when I say new friends, I'm really talking about KT. That's right, Karen Taylor. I hope you know what is going on with this. This is so cool and so exciting, folks. We are now doing live selling right there on our website, but we also have an app developed. So this is pretty cool. If you do not know who Karen Taylor is, I believe, and I hope I'm not butchering it, Karen, because I know you got to be watching out there. Scarlet Thread out in Georgia, if I remember correctly. She's been doing live selling for several years, but she's just an absolute pro at it. She's joined our team, folks, and she is just going to make access to our warehouse for everybody, and we're going to have a great time. And she is really good at curating fabrics together and stuff. This is exciting. And so a couple of days ago on the show, look at that, behind our friend Tiffany Hayes, who I guess we can do guest appearances. So I want to do a guest appearance on the show. I think that'll be super great. But look, she's showing off the Splice Magic book and the quilt we normally have hanging behind us. So yeah, they're selling kits and all of this kind of stuff. But the other thing I want you to notice is the red replay button there in the center. And so yes, now I don't know how long the shows are available that you may shop from them. It's through the platform comment sold, and like I said, we have an app developed you can get in your app store. I also like to check it out just right at stitchinheaven.com. It's very easy to watch. It is Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and sometimes we're going to have, I think, something special on the weekends, maybe twice a month. I don't want to get it wrong and make promises I cannot keep, especially after last week's technology issues. And all of you were here. I was so excited to share everybody with what's going on. Now, I have met Karen a few times. We worked in person together at First Saturday, and oh boy, we have just really connected, and it's really, really exciting. But I was starting to say, yes, you can go back and shop the recorded shows. I don't know how long. You just register, and then you can go ahead and put what you want, and it goes in the shopping cart, and I believe it's still $99 is free shipping and all those kinds of things. So it's really, really slick. And oh, okay, I just saw a comment real quick as I was looking down to move the screen. Patty, the app for the live selling should be on your app store. If you're an iPhone, or the Android store, I guess is what it's called if you're on the Android platform. And I'm pretty sure the app is finished, although the first week it launched, there was some glitches, I think, with the app. So you can definitely watch it on stitchinheaven.com until the app is rock solid. Sometimes it's just a little easier that way, or if you have other things going on in your Wi-Fi connections and things like that. So yeah, it's really cool. And Karen does a great job. And let's see, back to our grateful list we were doing here. And number 2 was leveling up. So here it is, Nancy. Yes, I have leveled up. I am officially a tattoo artist now. I've been licensed for about a year and a half and been tattooing, but I got to go to a tattoo convention, and I got to stand behind the booth, and I got to tattoo on folks, and it was really fun. I had a longtime friend show up, and she brought a wonderful gift basket and made me kind of the star amongst all the snack hungry tattoo artists there. And again, it is about new friends, and for me, tattooing is all about relationships and experiences. So here's a fun tattoo. Only one of these is real, folks, and this is the real one on our sailor. Again, Tracy, thank you for your service out there. And but look at her, and I believe her daughter was about 7 or 8 years old and was so excited to be there. So she got a pretend tattoo. I just use the stencil that I trace when I'm doing the real tattooing, put it on the youngster's arm, and then I covered it with the same clear bandage so she could run around for the rest of the weekend like her mom. Super great. Then, of course, the ghost tattoo. And what's fun about a tattoo like this is the gal is a cancer survivor and had a pink ribbon that you can barely see in there that had faded so much she wanted it covered up. And I said, well, let's not cover it. Let's just ghost it away. And that's how we did that. And then, of course, if you know my dear friend Mark, the Quilting Marine, we know he loves to eat Crayolas and get tattooed as well. And so I found him the perfect tattooing machine, which just once again proves why arts and crafts are so amazingly special, folks, because right? That was some little wooden spools and things that you can find in that wooden stuffs bin at your craft store and put together and painted up. And boy, were all of us boys having a good time goofing around with the tattooing Crayola machine, right? Like it's just a pencil holder, you know, but it's so fun, right? So fun. I love this kind of stuff, and it just makes you smile. And that's what I really think so much of life should be about, is the joy and all of the things we do out there. So yeah, I was pretty excited about that. Now, I mentioned this earlier, so much sewing. Folks, I had a disastrous start, and so much sewing and my faith are going to kind of run together today. But yes, so let me go ahead and close this list down. Yeah, so much sewing. I was getting prepared to go and do, there it is right now. There's the epic block of the month. That's the digital rendering. That's the pattern we've been following. Here's a close-up view of it on the wall. Look at the quilting. That's Charisma's quilting there for me. And that's the quilt right there as it hangs behind me. And as I was mentioning, this is a block of the month that is started. You can start your registrations now. We'll start shipping the kits come January. I do believe this will be pre-cut. Again, folks, don't quote me on that because I don't want to forget and be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's pre-cut. You can see here is it says pre-cut now on the advertisement. Oh, fantastic. That's right. I made sure that got updated. So yes. And as I was pointing out, that starts in January. It is a 12-month sew along. And I thought, folks, last Monday I was jumping on an airplane. No, I said that incorrectly. I thought last Tuesday, folks, I was jumping on an airplane to fly out to Charisma's home in Washington with this quilt, and no, with all the parts across the room to make this quilt that I had been preparing because we were going to shoot the whole 12-month series together. Well, unfortunately, I missed the flight. I don't know how it happened exactly. It was one of those bargain saver things because I was being cheap and I was in a hurry to get there, and somehow the plane left on Monday without me. And so I didn't make it. And it was one of those terrible, terrible feelings. I mean, if you've ever woken up late for a meeting, talk about missing a flight to go to work to shoot 12 videos. Man, I felt like just the biggest dope. I was just felt awful. But Charisma and I stopped. We prayed about it. We figured, what are we going to do? We did not have any time before the video series launches to get back together, to do it correct. And so we're going to come up with a wonderful creative way to present them. I will be teaching the tutorials right here myself. This is a beautiful quilt, and it's really, really neat because we're going to make multiple blocks each month. So it's a great amount of sewing to keep you good and busy. But what I love about the way Charisma often does is the colors change. So you can see, like, here's the red. I don't know if you can see up here is an orange. Here's a yellow. It's a color wheel even within the quilt, and it's so awesome. But even these pieces right here that look so complicated and like there's so much going on, they're just random half square triangles that are matched up, trimmed down, and put together, and it's just incredible the way she writes these patterns. So I had a blast getting all of the sewing done, but then when I realized I had missed the flight and I couldn't yet start filming on the quilt because Charisma had the quilt, that's when I dove in and decided to get ahead of schedule on Arabella. So one of the things I'm constantly doing here is getting to spend a few days sewing and then a few days filming. And so the days where I get to go and do my sewing, some days I won't shave, my hair is a mess, the whole thing, and I love those days, as we all do in our sewing rooms. And so anyways, that's why I was so grateful for so much sewing last week. But also in talking about my faith, that was something that I wanted to put together. And like I said, it was just something that I felt that had happened the way it had to happen. It ended up, I needed to be home. Something happened in our family life, and I needed to be here. And I was really glad that I was, and that I'd missed that flight. Things would have been chaotic had I been in Washington, but I'm here now. So at any rate, that was number 4 on the grateful list, was my faith. And yes, Nancy, the new tattoo is, of course, our wonderful, let's see, I've got even the side camera, if I can show it to you. Great. Let me line up on it here. So yes, last week I was also at the tattoo convention up on stage competing now. So my wonderful friend and my mentor tattoo artist, Ed Molina, has now tattooed Jesus on my arm. A lot of folks are referring to him as Bro Christ because he's so happy, but that is my picture of Christ there in my head. really excited. And of course, if I can do a little bit more show and tell, then it will be a full color sleeve. And I have the dove already, so I competed in best small color with a white tattoo, which was really fun. And then I have the wave, and that'll tie together the land and the water of the glow. And then of course Morro Rock, where I surf. So anyways, it's been really fun, and a lot of this has been hand drawn on me. It's a custom piece, and those of you who know tattooing and know the treasure in collecting a piece that's done by a 30-year experienced veteran artist and having him be able to sit and hand draw and hand paint on you like that. And I know not all of you love tattoos, and I certainly hope that you haven't decided to unsubscribe today because we talked a little bit too much about tattooing. Please reconsider. Remember, folks, tattoos are just another needle art, and just because I have one more needle art badge than a lot of you, please, it's just all for fun. It's all about sharing, just like our quilts and the rest of our stories that we go out there and do. So yeah, this week was a lot about that because it's been important to me. But the real reason it's so important is I find as a professional artist, sometimes I do get a little bit down. Sometimes I get a little bit over carried away and lose perspective of what's going on. And so I find that having forms of art that are very challenging, yet are something that I can try to succeed in, what am I trying to say? Sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought. That are challenging, but I don't have to succeed in, really. That's what I was trying to say. Stuff that I can be terrible at. Art, I believe, quilting is an art, is meant for us to express ourselves, to let go of emotion and just to experiment. We don't have to be great at this stuff, right? Now, if you're going to go out there and be a teacher or maybe even a tattooer, you should be definitely at a skill level. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I have found over the last many years, it's the reason I knit, it's the reason I draw, now it's the reason I tattoo, it's the reason I do woodworking, I love to cook, is a lot of these other forms of art get me hyper-focused but bring me out of my sewing room. Because as important as it is for us all to be in our sewing rooms, folks, for me and other professional sewers out there, we have to step away because it does sometimes become a job as well. Especially if you miss your flight to Washington to film the series for the quilt you've been working on for a year. My goodness, am I going to complain about it anymore? I'm sorry, folks, but it's a beautiful quilt. Make sure, again, epic block of the month. Oh my goodness, I'm over time already. I can't believe it. Hey, at any rate, I'm looking at comments and we forgot to get Mona's pictures. At any rate, let me do a quick comments check, folks. If you had a question you'd like me to answer, I might miss it because now I realize I've been rambling for so long. Go ahead and retype your question now. I'm going to scroll back up to the top real quick and see if I've missed anything. I've been watching on the monitor. I'm glad to see we all made it through the entire program today. And oh, Carl, what color is the hair? It looks like everything's about what color is Carl's hair. And that's awesome. If you don't know Carl, he likes to paint his hair often the color of my sewing machine here. Happy Friday, everybody. I'm so glad to see that you all enjoy each other. And I saw that Nancy was out there and Stephanie was out there. And, and somebody from the UK and Utah and Texas. Ingrid's out there. Ingrid, you really should have decided to come to the retreat. I think you had a good reason. Elaine's out there, South Carolina. Oh, okay. Here's a great question from Gwen. Does pre-cut mean the pieces are pre-cut and all you have to do is sew the pre-cuts together? So that was probably when I was talking about the pre-cut block of the months. So yes, this is something we're actually kind of struggling with a little bit with communication at Stitchin Heaven, folks, because the sewing and quilting world have used pre-cuts to mean 10-inch squares, 5-inch squares, and 2.5-inch strips. When we say pre-cut in a kit or a block of the month, it means we're going to have the fabrics at your starting spot. So in this particular quilt over here on my wall, these were all like 2.25-inch strips. So this would have come as a pre-cut with the right number of strips all cut down at 2.25. But if we were following this Delta project and we were using ombres and it came pre-cut, what you would actually get in your kit is these pieces cut just like this, because this pattern actually uses the 60-degree triangle tool from Needle and a Haze Stack and cuts the pieces down so there is no waste. And you don't have the benefit of doing the Delta Plus 2, which is what I think I'm going to call the other quilt. But so that would also be what you would see in a pre-cut. You would get fabric 4 and all the parts you needed for fabric 4 cut down and engineered with the corners just like that. So great question, Gwen, and I hope that diagram on paper made sense. But yes, when we do a pre-cut kit or block of the month, or even a grab and go, if it says it's pre-cut, it's to your starting spot. So a lot of times a pattern will make you, will make 2 half square triangles using 2 squares. So your pre-cut would have 2 squares, but they might be 3.5 inches instead of 5s or 10s. I hope that makes sense. Hope you got your answer. Okay, let's see, Nancy. I'm so glad you were here today. Yeah, ombres can be a little bit tough, Patty, sometimes when you're working with them. I like the way the ombres worked out, but the nice thing about the Delta project is now we've got 2 designs, right? Okay, everyone liked Patty's quilt as well. All right, I think I got the questions answered. Awesome. Okay, fantastic, folks. Wonderful to have you all out there. I'm so glad that the technology, I say that and I look to make sure the microphone's been on for the last 30 minutes. No, I can see it. That one's got a green light that goes back and forth. I almost forgot that before we started the show today. Okay, kids. Stephanie, I think you're flying in. Please be safe. Carl, I know you're driving in. Please be safe. Andrew, I don't see your name on the list. Where the heck have you been today? Anyways, folks, make sure you have yourselves a blessed and fantastic weekend. For those of you who are en route now to, or will be soon, to Quitman, Texas to join us for the Fabric Fusions retreat, got a wonderful time prepared for you all. Please be safe en route. Don't get so excited on the way there that you don't have any energy left, because I am going to work you all to death. Jerry, if you're watching, I have about 3 days worth of hardcore lessons all planned out. Got you covered, all stars. Super excited for everybody to get together. We are going to have a blast. If you're not joining us this week at the retreat, make sure you do something with your sewing community. Make sure you get out there, get involved. Come on, folks. It's awesome to be out there and awesome to be doing this all together. Really appreciate you being here with me today. I appreciate all the lovely comments.